The great chamber of the Galactic Council was filled with light. Thousands of seats rose high into the darkness above, and beings from 100 different worlds sat watching. Some had scales. Some had fur. Some had bodies made of gas held together by special suits. They were all different, but today they all looked at the same place. They looked at. He stood alone on the speaker's platform. He was a human man of 50 years, with gray hair at his temples and calm eyes that had seen many things. For 20 years, he had been the human ambassador to the Galactic Council. He had solved problems between species that had hated each other for 10,000 years. He had brought peace to wars that everyone said could never end. Today, the Council was going to thank him by taking everything away. High Counselor floated down from his seat. He was a species that looked like tall shadows with silver eyes. They believed they were the oldest in species in the galaxy. They had created the Council 3,000 years ago, and they had never let anyone forget it. "The vote is complete," said. His voice echoed through the chamber. "By a count of 732 to 91, the Council has decided to change humanity's status. From this day forward, humans will be observer species. They will have no vote. They will have no territorial protection. They will watch and they will learn until we decide they are ready for more." Did not move, he did not speak. In the seats above, Ambassador Trill of the Empire made a small sound of satisfaction. They looked like insects with beautiful shells of blue and green. They had always been jealous of humanity's position. They had pushed for this vote for years. "Does the human ambassador wish to respond?" asked. There was something in his voice. Perhaps he expected to beg. Perhaps he wanted to see a human cry. Looked up at the thousands of watching eyes. He thought about 300 years of human history in space. He thought about the diseases human doctors had cured on alien worlds. He thought about the wars human soldiers had stopped. He thought about the food human farmers had grown to feed hungry planets that could not feed themselves. He thought about his daughter, who had died 10 years ago while protecting a colony from pirates. The same who just voted to strip his people of their rights. "I have nothing to say," said quietly. "You have made your choice, now we will make ours." He reached into his coat and took out a small device. He pressed a single button. Somewhere far away, a message began traveling faster than light toward Earth. Then bowed. It was a perfect bow, respectful and dignified. He turned and walked out of the chamber. He did not look back. High Counselor watched him go. For just a moment, something cold touched his heart, but he pushed the feeling away. Humans were emotional creatures. They would be angry for a time and then they would accept their new place. That was how the galaxy worked. He was very, very wrong. Admiral Lee received the message on her flagship, the Eternal Dawn. She was a small woman with short black hair and eyes like ice. She had commanded human fleets for 30 years. She had never lost a battle. She read the message 3 times, then she stood up from her chair. "Begin the protocol," she said. Her officers looked at each other. They had trained for this day. They had hoped it would never come. But they were human, and humans followed orders. Within 1 hour, every human ship in Council space received the same command. Within 2 hours, every human embassy began packing. Within 3 hours, human engineers started shutting down the systems they had built and maintained for alien worlds. They took nothing that was not theirs, but they took everything that was. On the planet Prime, human doctors finished their last surgeries and then walked away from hospitals they had built with their own hands. They left behind clean rooms and working machines, but they took their knowledge with them. On Station 12, human engineers powered down the shield generators that protected 3 star systems from deadly radiation. The shields had been a gift, built and maintained by humanity for 100 years. The aliens had assumed the shields were shared technology. They had never asked. Humans had never corrected them. On the border worlds, human soldiers left their posts. For decades, They had stood between the peaceful species of the Council and the horrors that lived in the dark spaces between stars. Now those posts would be empty. Admiral watched the reports come in. Ship after ship left alien ports. Family after family said goodbye to alien friends. Some of those friendships were a century old. Some humans had lived on alien worlds for generations. None of them argued, none of them fought, they simply left. Captain brought his ship, the Silent Dawn, alongside the Admiral's flagship. He was a young man, barely 40, but he had the respect of every officer in the fleet. His grandmother had been one of the first human explorers to reach alien space. His family had given 4 generations to the dream of friendship between species. "Admiral," he said over the communication channel, "the last transports are loading now. We'll be ready to leave within 12 hours. "Good," said. "Any problems?" Some paused. "The on-station prime are confused. They keep asking where we're going. They say they didn't mean for us to leave. They just wanted us to know our place." Laughed, but there was no humor in it. They wanted us to be their servants. They wanted us to keep giving without asking for anything in return. And when we asked for nothing except respect, they couldn't even give us that. Should I respond to them? Yes, tell them we understand perfectly. Tell them we wish them well. Tell them we hope they find happiness in their new galaxy. She paused. Tell them we will be watching. Understood. The message was not a threat, it was something worse. It was the truth. 12 hours later, the last human ship left Council space. Admiral stood on her bridge and watched the stars slide past. Somewhere behind them, 1,000 alien species were waking up to a galaxy without humans. Some of them were celebrating. Ambassador Trill was probably giving speeches about superiority. High Counselor was probably congratulating himself on putting the young species in its place. They did not understand what they had done. They did not understand what they had lost. But they would learn. On Earth, Director sat in her office and watched the evacuation numbers climb. She was the head of Human Intelligence Services, the organization that watched everything and said nothing. She had predicted this day 5 years ago. Nobody had wanted to believe her. Now she opened a new file on her computer. She titled it, Observation Report, Day 1. She began to type. The galaxy thought they were punishing humanity. They thought humans would come crawling back, begging for forgiveness, willing to accept any insult for the chance to return. They did not understand humans at all. Arrived on Earth 3 weeks later. He was the last human to leave Council space. He had stayed to close the embassy properly, to file the correct paperwork, to say goodbye to the few aliens who came to see him off. His wife met him at the spaceport. She was crying. "I'm sorry," she said. "I know how much you loved that job." Held her close. He looked up at the night sky, at the stars where he had spent most of his life. "I did love it," he said. "I loved helping people. I loved building bridges. I loved believing that if we were kind enough and patient enough, they would learn to respect us." He was quiet for a moment. "But you cannot make someone respect you. They have to choose it, and they chose something else." Far away, in the great chamber of the Galactic Council, High Counselor was giving a speech about the dawn of a new era. He promised that the galaxy would be stronger without human interference. He promised that the older species would lead the younger ones to greatness. The chamber was full of applause. It would not last. 3 months passed, and the Galactic Council celebrated. High Counselor declared a holiday across all worlds. He called it Liberation Day. He gave long speeches about how the galaxy was finally free from human interference. He talked about the wisdom of the elder species and the bright future that awaited everyone. Ambassador Trill of the Empire was even happier. She had worked for 50 years to reduce human influence. Now she walked through the halls of Station Prime like she owned them. Her shell glowed with pride. Her voice was loud and confident. The humans thought they were special, she told anyone who would listen. They thought we needed them. Look at us now. We are better without them. But even as she spoke these words, problems were beginning. It started small, a trade dispute between thee and the over a shipping route. In the old days, human diplomats would have solved it in hours. They had a gift for finding solutions that made everyone feel like they had won. They would talk and listen and talk some more until the anger went away. Now there were no humans to call. They said the route belonged to them. They said it had always been shared. Both sides sent warships to guard their cargo vessels. Both sides accused the other of lying. Ambassador Trill tried to negotiate. She was smart and she knew how to make deals, but something was different. When humans negotiated, both sides trusted them to be fair. When Trill negotiated, they suspected she was trying to trick them. The dispute dragged on for weeks, then months. Ships waited in ports unable to move. Goods rotted in storage containers. Prices began to rise. On the colony world of Hope, named after the High Counselor himself, something worse happened. The sky turned red one morning, not the soft red of sunrise, but a harsh, burning red that hurt to look at. People ran to their shelters. Scientists rushed to their instruments, and then they understood. A radiation storm was coming, the kind of storm that killed plants and animals and people, the kind of storm that could turn a living world into a dead rock. Activate the shields, the colony governor ordered. His assistant looked at him with fear in her eyes. Governor, the shields went offline 3 months ago. The humans shut them down when they left. Then bring them back online. We can't, we don't know how. The humans built them. The humans maintained them. We just used them. The governor felt cold. He reached for his communication device and called Station Prime. He begged for help. He pleaded for someone to send engineers, technicians, anyone who understood shield technology. Station Prime sent a team of engineers. They were the best the council had. They studied the shield generators for 2 days while the red sky grew brighter. We don't understand this technology, the lead engineer finally admitted. The humans never shared the technical details. They just gave us working shields. We never asked how they worked. The storm hits Hope 3 days later. The crops died first, then the animals, then the people started getting sick. High Counselor read the reports in his private chambers. His silver eyes were troubled. He remembered now that humans had built shield networks around 30 colony worlds. He remembered that humans had always been there when systems failed or storms approached. He also remembered that he had never once said thank you. Send a message to Earth, he told his assistant. Ask them to send engineers. Tell them we will pay whatever they want. The message traveled through space for days before reaching a human relay station. The response came back quickly. It was polite. It was formal. It was not helpful. We appreciate your communication. However, as observer species, we cannot interfere in council affairs. We are confident that the wise elder species will find solutions to their challenges. We wish you success. Read the message 5 times. His hands were shaking. On Earth, Director added the message to her files. She was keeping careful records of every communication between humans and aliens. She was watching the galaxy fall apart, one piece at a time. Park sat with her, reading the same reports. He was the chief engineer who had overseen the shutdown of humanity's contributions to Council space. He had built many of those shield networks himself. He knew exactly how much work had gone into them. They're dying on Hope, he said quietly. I could fix those shields in a day. I know, replied. Children are dying, innocent people who never voted against us. I know. Was silent for a long moment. Is this who we are now? Do we let people die because their leaders were cruel? Turned to look at him. Her face was hard, but her eyes were sad. We gave them 300 years of kindness. We built their hospitals. We grew their food. We protected their children, and when we asked for one thing, just respect, just to be treated as equals, they said no. She looked out the window at Earth's blue sky. We're not killing anyone, we're just not saving them anymore. There's a difference. Is there? Didn't answer. Some questions had no good answers. Far away, on Station Prime, Ambassador Trill received a delegation from a species called the... They were small beings with large eyes and gentle voices. They had always been friends of humanity. "Where are the humans?" the ambassador asked. "We need medical supplies. There is a sickness on our... Human doctors always helped us before." "The humans are gone," Trill said. "But don't worry, doctors are just as good." The ambassador looked doubtful but said nothing. She accepted the medical team and returned home. 2 months later, the sickness on the had killed 30,000 people. The doctors had tried their best, but they had never seen the disease before. Human doctors had cured it many times. They had developed special medicines that worked perfectly. But those medicines were human medicines, and the humans were gone. The ambassador returned to Station Prime. This time, she did not visit Ambassador Trill. She went straight to High Counselor. "My people are dying," she said. "We need the humans back." "The humans chose to leave," replied. "We cannot force them to return." "You drove them away. You told them they were not worthy of respect. You took their vote, their rights, their place in this council." The ambassador's large eyes filled with tears. "And now my children die because you were too proud to say thank you." Had no answer. That night he sent another message to Earth. This one was longer. It explained the situation on the... It asked, not demanded but asked, for human medical assistance. The response was the same as before: polite, formal, unhelpful. "We cannot interfere in council affairs. We are merely observers. We wish you success." Captain received a copy of that message on his ship at the edge of human space. He was patrolling the borders of humanity's new territory, watching and waiting. He read about the sick. He thought about his grandmother, who had spent 20 years as a medical volunteer on their world. She had delivered thousands of bobbies. She had loved them like her own family. "Sir," his communications officer said, "we're receiving signals from Council Space. Hundreds of them. They're all asking for help." Closed his eyes. "Log them all, forward them to command. Do not respond." "Sir, some of them are from children. They're scared. They don't understand why we left." His hands tightened on the arms of his chair. He was a soldier. He followed orders. But he was also human, and humans were not built to ignore suffering. "I know," he said softly. "Log them anyway." On Earth, walked through a garden near his home. He had retired from diplomatic service. He spent his days reading books and growing vegetables, and trying not to think about the galaxy he had left behind. His wife found him standing among the tomato plants, staring at nothing. "The news says things are getting bad out there," she said. "I know. Some people are saying we should go back, that we should help." Picked a ripe tomato and turned it over in his hands. It was red and perfect. "We spent 300 years helping," he said. "We gave everything we had, and they looked at us and said, 'You are not good enough.' Not our technology, not our medicine, not our protection, us. They said we as a people were not worthy." He set the tomato down gently. "If we go back now, nothing changes. They learn nothing. They just wait for humans to fix everything again, and then they go back to treating us like servants." He shook his head. "No, they have to learn that actions have consequences. They have to understand what they threw away. And if they never learn..." Looked up at the sky. Somewhere beyond the blue, thousands of species were struggling to survive in a galaxy that humans had helped build. "Then they don't deserve our help," he said. "And that breaks my heart, but it's still true." 3 months after the humans left, the galaxy was beginning to crack. In 6 more months, it would begin to burn. 6 months after the humans departed, the Horde woke up. They were a species that lived for war. Their bodies were massive, covered in thick gray skin that could stop most weapons. Their hands had claws that could tear through metal. Their eyes were small and red, always watching for weakness. For 100 years they had been quiet. They stayed in their corner of the galaxy, fighting among themselves, never bothering the Council species. Everyone thought they had become peaceful. Everyone was wrong. They had been waiting, they had been watching, and they had been afraid. Afraid of humans. Warlord, the leader of the largest clan, remembered the last time his people had attacked a council world. He had been young then, barely a warrior. He remembered the human ships that appeared from nowhere. He remembered the human soldiers who landed on his world. Most species ran from warriors. Most species hid and cried and died easily. The humans did none of these things. They fought in ways they had never seen. They were smaller and weaker, but they never stopped. When they fell, other humans took their place. When their weapons failed, they used their hands. When their hands broke, they used their teeth. They had won that battle. They had killed thousands of humans. But the humans had killed tens of thousands of, and more human ships were coming, always more, an endless wave of stubborn, terrifying creatures who refused to accept defeat. They retreated. They signed a peace treaty. They stayed quiet for 100 years. Now Warlord looked at his scouts' reports and smiled. His teeth were sharp and yellow. "The humans are gone," he said. "Their ships have left the border. Their soldiers no longer patrol the space lanes." "What do we do, Warlord?" his advisor asked. Stood up from his throne. He was the largest alive, 3 meters tall with scars covering his body. "We do what we were born to do," he said. "We hunt." The first attack came without warning. The colony on world Zephyr 7 had no defenses. Why would it? The humans had always protected them. For 100 years, no enemy had threatened this part of space. The fleet appeared in the sky like dark clouds. They did not send warnings. They did not demand surrender. They simply opened fire. The colony had 50,000 people, farmers, merchants, children, families. They ran to their shelters, but the shelters were not built to stop weapons. The walls came down. The screams began. Some tried to call for help. Their messages reached Station Prime 3 hours later. By then, Zephyr 7 was a burning ruin. Ambassador Trill received the news in her private chambers. Her beautiful shell turned pale. Her hands began to shake. "How many dead?" she asked. 47,000, her assistant said. "The survivors are being taken as slaves." "Send ships. Send every ship we have." "Ambassador, the fleet is not ready. We lost many of our best captains when the humans left. They were training our officers. Without them, we have no one who knows how to fight the—" Trill wanted to scream. She wanted to throw things and curse and demand that someone fix this. But there was no one to fix it. The ones who could fix it were gone. High Counselor called an emergency meeting of the full council. For the first time in 300 years, the great chamber was filled with fear instead of pride. "They have returned," said. His voice was not as strong as before. "They are attacking our outer colonies. We must respond." "With what?" an ambassador asked. "Our fleets are weak. Our soldiers are untrained. The humans protected us for so long that we forgot how to protect ourselves." "Then we must learn quickly." "We cannot learn in time. They will sweep through our space in months. They will burn everything we have built." Silence filled the chamber. The truth was too heavy to ignore. A young ambassador from a small species called the stood up. He was brave or foolish, perhaps both. "I have a question," he said. "What exactly did the humans receive from us in exchange for their protection?" No one answered. "They built our hospitals," they continued. "They grew our food. They defended our borders. They solved our disputes. They asked for nothing except respect and a voice in this council, and we took even that away. The humans were too powerful. Ambassador Trill said. They were influencing our cultures, our politics. They were saving our lives, this voice echoed through the chamber. And now they are gone and they are here and we have nothing. Nothing except the lesson we are about to learn. He sat down, no one else spoke. Far away at the edge of human space, Captain intercepted a desperate message from a colony. They were coming. They had no defenses. They were begging anyone who could hear them for help. Screw looked at him with questioning eyes. They were soldiers. They had sworn to protect the innocent. Everything in their training told them to respond. Sir, his weapons officer said, we could reach them in 4 hours. We have enough firepower to drive off the raiders. Wanted to say yes. Every part of him wanted to help. He thought about the families huddled in their homes, waiting for monsters to come. Then he thought about the vote. He thought about High Counselor's speech declaring that humans were not worthy of respect. He thought about 300 years of service repaid with humiliation. He reached for his communication device and called Admiral Lee. Admiral, we've received a distress signal from a colony. Attack incoming. Request permission to assist. There was a long pause. When spoke, her voice was heavy. Permission, Captain. We are observers. We do not interfere. Admiral, people are going to die. People have been dying since the Council decided they didn't need us. His voice cracked just slightly. We cannot save them from the consequences of their own choices. If we do, they will never learn, and next time they will treat us even worse. Closed his eyes, understood Admiral out. He turned to his crew. Continue patrol, log the distress signal, do not respond. His weapons officer's face was pale. Sir, I joined the fleet to protect people. So did I, stared at the stars on his. But sometimes the kindest thing you can do is let people face what they've earned. If we rescue them now, they learn nothing. They go back to using us and discarding us. The cycle never ends. And if they die, then they die, and it's not our fault, it's the fault of the leaders who drove us away. His voice was bitter. Remember that, all of you, we didn't choose this, they did. The colony fell 2 days later. They took 7,000 slaves and burned the rest. When the news reached Earth, sat alone in his study and wept. He wept for the dead. He wept for the slaves. He wept for the galaxy he had loved and served for 50 years. His wife found him there, in the dark, tears on his face. You're not responsible for this, she said softly. Aren't I? I was the one who pressed the button. I sent the signal that started the evacuation. And what would you have done instead? Stayed. Let them humiliate us forever. Let them use our children to fight their wars while they called us inferior. Shook his head. I don't know, I just know that people are dying because we left. People are dying because the Council drove us away. There's a difference. Is there? It was the same question Park had asked months ago. It still had no good answer. On Station Prime, High Counselor received reports of 3 more colony worlds falling to the... He read them at his desk, alone, with the lights turned low. He thought about his grandfather, who had been alive when humans first came to the galaxy. Grandfather had told stories about those early days, about the strange pink creatures who landed on alien worlds with medicine and food and smiles, who asked only to be friends. We took them for granted, Grandfather had said. We assumed they would always be there. We never imagined they might leave. Had laughed at those stories. He had thought his grandfather was being sentimental. Now, sitting in the dark with the galaxy burning around him, he finally understood. He wrote one more message to Earth. It was not a formal request. It was not a diplomatic communication. It was just words from one being to another. I was wrong. We were all wrong. Please forgive us. Please come back. Without you, we are lost. He sent it before he could change his mind. The response came a week later. It was not from the human government. It was from himself, the ambassador who had bowed and walked away in silence. The message was short. Forgiveness is easy to give. Trust must be earned. When you understand the difference, perhaps we can talk again. Until then, I wish you peace. Read the message 100 times. He did not understand it, not yet. But he would. 1 year after the humans departed, half the galaxy was burning. The Horde had grown bold. Warlord had taken 12 star systems. His warriors moved from world to world like a plague, killing and burning and taking slaves. No one could stop them. The Empire was breaking apart. Without human mediators to hold their factions together, old hatreds had returned. 3 different lords claimed the title of Emperor. Their fleets fought each other while they laughed. The great medical stations that humans had built were failing. No one knew how to repair the machines. No one understood the medicines. Plagues that humans had stopped long ago were coming back, killing millions. And the Council did nothing. They could not agree on a plan. Without humans to bridge the gaps between species, every meeting became a fight. The blamed the. The smaller species blamed everyone and begged someone to do something. Station Prime, once the shining center of galactic civilization, had become a refugee camp. Ships arrived every day filled with people fleeing the. They had nowhere else to go. They sat in the corridors and waited for help that never came. High Counselor walked through those corridors late at night. He saw the hungry faces. He heard the crying children. He smelled the fear and despair that hung in the air like smoke. 1 year ago, he had been proud. He had stood in the great chamber and declared a new era for the galaxy. Now he was a broken old man, walking through the ruins of his own arrogance. His advisors told him there was one hope left. He did not want to hear it, but he had no choice. "You must go yourself," his chief advisor said. "You must go to the humans and beg. I have sent hundreds of messages. They do not respond. Then go in person. Show them you are humble. Show them you have changed." Closed his silver eyes. To humble himself before the species he had humiliated went against everything he believed. But he looked at the refugees in the corridors. He thought about the world still burning. "Prepare my ship," he said. The journey to human space took 19 days. The ship waited at the border alone, broadcasting peaceful signals. He did not know if anyone was listening. On the 5th day, a human patrol found him. On the 10th day, they agreed to let him speak. On the 19th day, a single human ship appeared. It was Admiral Lee's flagship. The meeting happened in a small room on ship. Had expected a grand chamber, a crowd of witnesses, cameras recording every word. Instead, there was just one small woman sitting across a plain table. "High Counselor," said. Her voice was calm, empty of emotion. "You wanted to speak, speak." Had prepared a great speech. He had practiced words of apology and promises of change. But looking at its cold eyes, all his careful words disappeared. "We are dying," he said simply. "They are destroying us. Our own people are fighting each other. The diseases have returned. The children are starving." "I know." "You know," leaned forward. "You watch us suffer and do nothing. We are observers. That is the role you gave us." Felt anger rise in his chest, but he pushed it down. He had no right to be angry. He was the one who had started this. "I was wrong," he said. "The Council was wrong. We treated you badly. We took everything you gave us and returned nothing but insults. I am sorry." Was quiet for a long moment. Then she asked a single question. "When my people needed you to simply acknowledge our worth, where was your compassion?" Had no answer. Reached into her pocket and pulled out a small data chip. She slid it across the table. "This contains star maps," she said. "Routes that avoid patrols. Safe passages for refugee ships. It may help some of your people escape." Took the chip with shaking hands. "Thank you, but we need more. We need your ships, your soldiers, your doctors." "No." "Please, I will give you anything. Restore your membership. Give you power in the Council. territory, resources, whatever you want. Stood up, you still don't understand. We never wanted power. We never wanted territory. We just wanted to help. We wanted to be your friends, and friends treat each other with respect. We can learn, we can change. Perhaps walk toward the door. But change takes time, and trust, once broken, is not easily repaired. She stopped at the door and looked back at. For just a moment her cold mask slipped and he saw something underneath. Pain, sorrow, a deep, heavy grief. I have family in the refugee camps, she said quietly. My sister married they have 2 children. I do not know if they are still alive. His eyes widened. Then why do you not help? Because if I help now, nothing changes. You learn nothing. Your children learn nothing. The next time humanity tries to be kind, you will throw us away again. A tear rolled down her cheek. I have to let my sister's children suffer so that yours might finally understand. That is the price of what you did. She left the room without another word. Sat alone in the silence. He looked at the data chip in his hand. Such a small gift. Such an enormous gap between what they had asked for and what they had received. He returned to Station Prime a broken man. On Earth, received a full report of the meeting. He read words and his heart ached for her. He knew the decision to let her sister's family suffer was destroying her inside. He knew it was destroying all of them. But he also knew it was necessary. He walked to his garden and stood among the tomato plants. Spring had come to Earth. Flowers were blooming. Birds were singing. Life went on, beautiful and cruel. His daughter had died protecting colonists. His grandson had died fighting raiders. 3 generations of his family had given their lives for a galaxy that called them inferior. And now that galaxy was burning, and humans were supposed to rush back and save them. As if nothing had happened. As if the insults and the cruelty and the vote meant nothing. No. The galaxy had to learn. They had to understand that kindness was not weakness, that patience was not submission, that humans gave freely because they chose to, not because they had to. And the only way to teach that lesson was silence. Began to draft a proposal, not for rescue, not yet, but for something that might come later if the galaxy survived long enough to earn it. He called it the Second Chance Protocol. In the refugee camps on Station Prime, a young child named Jill asked her mother why the humans had left. Her mother tried to explain about votes and politics and respect. The child did not understand. But they were our friends, Jill said. Friends don't leave. Sometimes friends get tired of being hurt, her mother replied. Sometimes friends need to go away so you can learn how much you miss them. Will they come back? Her mother looked up at the stars beyond the station's windows. Somewhere out there, human ships patrolled borders that they could have crossed at any moment. Human doctors had medicine that could save millions. Human soldiers could defeat the in weeks. But they stayed away. They watched. They waited. I don't know, her mother said honestly. I hope so, but first I think we have to deserve them. The child did not understand, but she would remember that conversation for the rest of her life. 1 year after the humans departed, the galaxy had learned what it felt like to be alone. The lesson was not over. Not yet. 18 months after the humans departed, the Galactic Council died. It did not die in battle. It did not die from disease. It died because its leaders could no longer pretend they were in control. High Counselor was assassinated in his own chambers. The killer was a young whose family had died in a raid. He blamed for driving the humans away. He blamed for the burning worlds and the screaming children and the empty skis where human ships used to patrol. You killed us all, the assassin said before the guards took him away. You killed us with your pride. Station Prime, once the heart of galactic civilization, had become a place of despair. The great chamber where species had gathered to debate and govern was now empty. The lights were broken. The seats were covered in dust. No one came here anymore because there was nothing left to govern. Warlord declared himself supreme ruler of the known galaxy. His warriors had conquered 30 star systems. His ships patrolled space lanes that had once belonged to peaceful species. His voice echoed across every communication channel, laughing at the beings who had thought themselves safe. "The humans protected you," said in his broadcasts. "The humans held us back. Now they are gone and you are ours. This is the natural order, the strong rule, the weak serve. That is the way of the universe." Many believed him. Many had lost hope. Many thought the galaxy was entering a dark age that would last forever. And then made a mistake. On the outer edge of Council space, far from any important system, there was a small observation station. It had no weapons. It had no military value. It was just a place where scientists studied stars. Did not know that 3 human observers worked at that station. His raiders attacked without checking who lived there. They killed everyone on board, including a woman named Myra, a man named, and a woman named. They had been watching the sky, recording data, living peaceful lives far from the chaos. They were the first humans to die since the departure. Director received the news on a cold morning. She read the report 3 times, making sure she understood. Then she walked slowly to Admiral's office. "The killed 3 of our people," said. Looked up from her desk. "Who?" "Scientists, observers. They were studying radiation patterns near the Council border." Was silent for a long moment. Her hands trembled slightly. "They weren't soldiers, they weren't armed. They were just watching the stars." "I know." Stood up and walked to her window. Outside, Earth's ocean stretched to the horizon, blue and calm and beautiful, so different from the burning worlds far away. "This changes things," she said quietly. "Yes, it does." Thought about the 18 months of silence. She thought about the refugees she had turned away. She thought about her sister's children, who had finally escaped to safe space but would never forget the horrors they had seen. She had told herself the silence was necessary. She had told herself the galaxy needed to learn, and perhaps that was true. But now 3 of her people were dead, killed by the same monsters they had always fought. "Call a meeting," she said. "Everyone, all of them, we need to decide what happens next." The meeting took place in a secure room deep beneath Earth's surface. The walls were bare stone. The table was simple wood. There was nothing fancy about this place, nothing impressive. Just humans sitting together, deciding the fate of the galaxy. Looked older than his years. The past 18 months had worn him down. He had spent every day reading reports of suffering, knowing he had the power to stop it, choosing not to. "3 of our people are dead," he began. "Murdered by we did not start this war. We did not choose to be attacked, but now we must choose how to respond." Admiral spoke next. "Our fleets are stronger than ever. During our time away, we have been building, training, preparing. If we return now, we can defeat in weeks." "And then what?" Park asked. "We save the galaxy and they thank us for a few years and then they forget again. They go back to using us and discarding us. The cycle continues." Captain shook his head. "I don't think they'll forget this time. I've been monitoring their communications. The Council species are different now. They understand what they lost. They're teaching their children about humans, not as inferior species, but as the friends who left because they weren't treated fairly." "Words are easy," said. "Actions are what matter." The room fell silent. Everyone looked at, he was the eldest. He had the most experience. His voice carried weight. Closed his eyes. He thought about his daughter, who had died saving aliens. He thought about his grandson, who had followed the same path. He thought about generations of humans who had given everything for a galaxy that never said thank you. And he thought about the 3 scientists who had just died. Myra, they had not been soldiers or diplomats. They had been dreamers who wanted to understand the universe. They had been killed by evil, and evil did not care about politics or pride. "We left because we wanted to be valued," said finally. "But we never stopped being who we are. We never stopped caring about life. We never stopped wanting to help." He opened his eyes and looked at each person around the table. "The council failed us. That is true. But the innocent people in the refugee camps did not vote against us. The children dying of disease did not insult us. The families being slaughtered by the never did us any harm." "So we go back?" asked. "Yes, but on our terms. Not as servants, not as grateful guests, as partners, as equals. We help because it is right, not because they ask nicely. We save them because that is who humans are." Frowned, "And if they go back to treating us badly?" "Then we leave again, and we keep leaving until they learn. But we don't let them die while they're learning. We don't become the monsters we're fighting against." The vote was not unanimous. Some thought it was too soon. Some thought the council deserved more suffering. But in the end, the decision was made. Humanity would return. Captain led the first fleet back into council space. His orders were simple: engage only protect civilian populations, ask nothing in return. His ships jumped into a system where a fleet was attacking a refugee convoy. The aliens on those refugee ships were the same species who had voted loudest against humanity. Could have let them die. No one would have blamed him. Instead, he opened fire on his weapons officer, the same one who had questioned him 18 months ago, watched in silence as the ships burned. "Sir," she said finally, "why, after everything they did to us?" Watched the convoy escape toward safety. Somewhere on those ships, families were crying with relief. Children were hugging their parents. Life was continuing because humans had chosen to save it. "Because if we let evil win," he said, "we become part of the evil, and I'd rather die a human than live as a monster." The battle ended in minutes. They fled. The convoy sent a message of thanks, the first thanks humans had received in 18 months. It was a small thing, but it was a start. On Earth, watched the reports come in. Human ships were appearing all over council space, driving back protecting the helpless, asking for nothing. "Do you think it will be different this time?" his wife asked. "I don't know," admitted. "But I know this: we cannot control what others do. We can only control what we do. And what we do is help. That's who we are. That's who we've always been." He looked up at the stars. "If they betray us again, we'll survive. We always have. But if we stop being kind just because someone was cruel to us, then we've lost something more important than any vote or any treaty. We've lost ourselves." His wife took his hand. "I'm proud of you," she said. "I'm just doing what humans do," he replied. "What we've always done." Far away, across the burning galaxy, human ships carried hope to worlds that had forgotten what hope felt like. The war was not over. But for the first time in 18 months, the darkness was beginning to retreat.